Welcome to The Cap, where we are here to speak with college reps and other professionals in the field of college admissions to help answer all your questions and guide you through every step of the process. So if you're serious about college admissions, you've come to the right place. Are you ready? Let's talk about it. And now, here's your host, Dr. John Durante. Welcome to The Cap, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and I am here to introduce you to college admissions representatives and other professionals in the field of college admissions. Our purpose is to serve you, the students and parents, so that you may gain insights straight from the people who ultimately make the decisions. Regardless of whether you will apply to a particular school being highlighted in a given podcast episode, you should listen to all of them, as each guest will give you tremendous insight and advice on every aspect of the college admissions process. Lastly, if you have any questions you'd like me to cover on future episodes or any comments you'd like to share, please email me at collegeadmissionstalk@gmail.com. And don't forget to visit our website at www.collegeadmissionstalk.com. So are you ready? Let's talk about it. Welcome to The Cap, everyone, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your proud host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Matt Lucatamo, admissions representative for the University of Delaware. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm good, John. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. And let's get right to it, Matt. Why don't you start by telling us about yourself? How long have you been in admissions, and how did you end up in this position?
Sure. So I am a Delaware native, grew up here, went to high school here. I'm a UD alum as well. I graduated in 2020 and I majored in English. Um, so I've been in admissions for about 6 months now. And I kind of stumbled upon it in like a happy accident sort of way. So, like I mentioned, I graduated in 2020 during the height of the first wave of the COVID pandemic. When I was applying to countless jobs and no one was hiring anyone for anything. I kind of had to go back to the drawing board and think, why did I apply to college in the first place? I had originally applied as English education, had changed my major. It was a long thing, but I was like, maybe I do want to circle back and start looking into education again. So I thought about maybe working in higher ed, but I knew that I didn't necessarily want to teach. So about after a year, this job posting had opened up, and I applied partly because I felt like I never really got the proper send off from campus in the first place, and I wasn't quite ready to leave the community yet. But come September of 2021, now I don't have to leave the community because that's when I began as an admissions counselor here at UD.
Well, that is great. We're lucky to have you here today on the show, and the University of Delaware is also very fortunate to have you. So good luck with that. What does a typical year look like for a college admissions counselor?
Typical year, it's kind of like each season of the year correlates to a season of the job. So in the fall, we are all systems go on student recruitment. Admissions counselors are traveling to their territories. We're visiting high schools. We're going to college fairs because we're trying to get current seniors interested in applying to our institution. Then in the late fall, early winter, it's when we begin reading applications for the upcoming freshman class. So that lasts until the end of the winter. So we are thankfully on the tail end of reading applications now at the end of February. Some of the days get very cold and very long, but spring is the light at the end of the tunnel. Then during the spring, after most admissions decisions have gone out, we begin recruitment for the next class of applicants. Typically going back to our recruitment territories, visiting college fairs, and speaking with current juniors who are getting started in the college application process. And then in the summer, we are hosting prospective student tours on campus. We are taking vacations because they are going to be well needed. And then we're planning to do it all again in the fall.
That's terrific. Thank you for that overview. I really appreciate it. And how many applications do you review a year? And do you, Matt, actually represent a specific region?
Yeah, so UD receives typically it's about 30,000 applications a year,
Wow.
but this year is actually shaping up to be our largest applicant pool ever. And we're nearing 35,000 applications this year. Um, so that averages out to about 2,000 applications read per counselor. But to some extent, that varies by recruitment territory. Um, and my recruitment territory, I represent both Nassau and Suffolk counties on Long Island.
What is the average profile of the current freshman class in terms of their GPA and any other related data you collect, such as SAT or ACT scores?
Sure. So our current freshman class, the average GPA is approximately 3.7 to a 4.2 on a weighted scale. Um, an important thing to note is that at least for students applying for the class of 2027, so they're applying for entry for fall of 2023. We are at least test optional through that year. So through the next application cycle, we are test optional. But if a student is going to submit their test scores, our average SAT range is a 1220 to a 1380 composite score, and our average ACT range is a 25 to a 30.
Well, that's great to know that you're going to continue to be test optional, at least for the near future. Thank you so much for sharing that. What advice would you give a student if they fall lower than the current freshman class average? Should they apply?
Yes, I think they absolutely should apply, because getting into college is not just a numbers game. Yes, we're looking at your grades, we're looking to see how well you performed, but we conduct a holistic approach when we're reviewing applications. So while we are definitely looking at your grades, we're also looking at the rigor that you took those courses. We're looking at your test scores if you choose to supply them. We're reading your essay. Contrary to popular belief, we are reading those essays. We're reading your letters of recommendation. We're looking at your resume should you choose to submit it. Anything that can help me learn more about your extracurricular involvement, if you've done any research in high school, and if you've been involved in a community engagement, service organizations, anything like that. All of those things help build a strong case for your admission, and they are outside of the world of just how you perform in class.
Hey John, this is Alina from the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York City. Dormify makes shopping for college totally stress-free. They've truly thought about everything and have nailed small space living. From the charging storage carts to the charging headboards, they have so many products that are both functional and stylish. They even sell bags that make move-in day easier. I couldn't survive dorm living without the extra storage from Dormify. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, Alina, for introducing Dormify to our listeners. Dormify is a one-stop shop for stylish and functional dorm decor, offering a wide range of stylish and functional products for anyone looking to decorate their dorms or small spaces. From bedding to wall decorations to storage solutions, Dormify has everything you need to transform your living space into a comfortable and stylish home away from home. Use our exclusive coupon code College Talk, that's one word, College Talk, to save 15% on most products when you shop at dormify.com or through the link provided in the show notes. Please note that if you make a purchase through the affiliate link or coupon code we provided, the podcast will receive a small commission from Dormify. But rest assured, we would only promote products that we truly believe in and think will benefit our listeners. And now, back to the show. If a student applies early action, is there a better chance they will be admitted? What advice would you give a student considering applying early action? And I don't think Delaware offers ED, but same question for that as well.
Correct. So we do not offer ED. For those listening, ED stands for early decision. Early decision is a binding agreement, which Delaware does not have. So we have early action and regular decision, neither of which are binding. The only real difference between early action and regular decision is that with early action, you hear back sooner. So I recommend students apply early action if they are considering applying to our honors college, or one of our more competitive majors like nursing, biomedical, chemical engineering, or sports management, sports health. Those are some pretty popular majors with programs with limited seats. So since they are highly sought after, general rule of thumb, the sooner you get it done, the sooner we read it. So if you're interested in those areas, I highly encourage that you get your application in the early action deadline. Um, and of course, it's always better to apply sooner rather than later, because you want to get your application off your plate and you want to enjoy the rest of your senior year, actually being a senior. You don't want to miss going to homecoming or hanging out with your friends before or after the football game because you're writing your college essay. So that's my advice, is to get it done, so that way you can enjoy the rest of your senior year.
Well, that is great advice. Thanks again, Matt. And what are some examples of college essays that really stuck with you? In other words, when you read them, you thought, wow, I really have to meet this prospective student.
I will say, think of something that has happened to you uniquely. Um, for example, I read a lot of sports essays. There are a lot of ACL tears, and there's a lot of getting cut from the cheer team, or not making the basketball team your freshman year. And while those are, you do learn lessons from those, I want to I want to hear more from you. Don't just tell me about the time you played a football game. Tell me about your connection to the sport. If you and your family watch it every Sunday, or you play flag football on Thanksgiving morning. I want to know something personal. Regardless of your essay topic, I want me to tell you about you. My advice is to keep it conversational, keep it funny, keep it as if you were meeting me in person for the first time. I want to be engaged. Your essay is your one chance to get my attention, and it should happen in the first few lines of your essay. Um, I did have a student write about being struck by lightning, though. That was kind of cool. So if you were struck by
that
lightning, you might want to write about it.
that must have been shocking, Matt.
Shocking indeed, but it's the one I remember.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. In terms of the teacher letters of recommendations, what are you looking for to help you get a better picture of the candidate? Are there, again, examples of letters that really stuck out and made an impact on you?
Sure. So while we will accept teacher letters of recommendation, UD only requires the one that comes right from the guidance counselor. Students are more than welcome to submit additional letters from teachers or bosses. Um, and we'll read them, but they're not required, because 9 times out of 10 they're going to be positive, right? No one's going to write a letter for me that says, "Actually, Matt sucks. Do not admit him to the University of Delaware." But when we do read them all. But when we do read them, I'm looking for personal experiences that you've had with the student. I want to hear a moment that really sticks out to you, that speaks to their character as a person, because so much of the student's application is about their academic performance and their extracurricular accomplishments. So while those are important things for teachers and guidance counselors to include in their letters of recommendation, they're also things that the student has already advocated for on their own behalf. So that little extra piece that you can provide, that speaks to who they are as a person, is really important to us as readers.
So, Matt, every admissions officer receives a copy of the prospective student's transcript and, of course, the activity sheet. What kinds of things are you looking for when reviewing these items?
Sure. So when reviewing these items, I want to start with, guidance. All guidance counselors send the high school transcript, but the University of Delaware actually utilizes another platform called the SRAR, or the Self-Reported Academic Record, and that's a platform where students self-report their grades from high school, and it is one of our admissions requirements. So the high school transcript and the SRAR are two different things. So when you are applying, make sure you have that SRAR done as well. And the SRAR is what we use when we read a student's application to consult their grades. However, when looking at an activity sheet, I'm looking for things that make you unique. A lot of students play sports, or a part of Key Club, or in the choir. I'm looking to see if you've made it to nationals in that sport, or if you've started your own community service organization, or if you write and produce your own music. I want to see what you've done to take it the next step, not because you have to, but because you want to. A lot of startup pandemic businesses were really popular with high school students. I want to see that if you started a business, if you've kept up with that business model even after you started going back to school. I want to see if you're conducting research, or better yet, if you've been published in a research area. I want to see if you're holding an internship and if that internship is in an area that is pertaining to your major of interest. Anything that you can provide us to give us a bigger picture in terms of, what your day-to-day life looks like as a high school student, um, and how you're able to balance all of those activities with your academics.
Those are tremendous pieces of advice as students work to put their applications together. So I just want to thank you again for that, Matt. How do you evaluate varying state assessments? For example, New York State has Regents exams for all of their students. Your school is obviously not in New York State, you're in Delaware. So how much weight do you put on these types of assessments?
Sure. So because we are, again, in Delaware and not New York State, we do not put any weight on varying state assessments. So we do not take Regents exam scores into consideration when we are reviewing a student's application. In the same vein of that, a Regents course holds the same amount of weight on the SRAR as a standard course. So this is not me saying don't take your Regents courses. Take your Regents courses, get that advanced Regents diploma, because the SUNYs and a lot of New York State schools will look at it. But as an out-of-state school, we do not equate them to as much weight.
Understood, and thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it. What kind of scholarship opportunities do you offer for academic achievement, and does a student have to apply separately for any of these offerings?
Um, I'll answer twofold. So, the first part, Delaware offers potential merit awards between $2,000 and $17,000 per year for out of state students. So these awards are based solely on the information that the student supplies in their SRAR. And they are automatically considered for merit award eligibility as long as they get their application in by our priority deadline of January 15th. Um, I do want to point out too that applying early action versus regular decision has no impact on how much money a student can potentially receive in merit awards. So as long as you are in by that priority deadline of January 15th, you are automatically considered for merit.
Well, that's really good to know, and thank you for that explanation. Do you conduct on site interviews with prospective students? And if so, Matt, what advice would you give a student preparing for those types of interviews?
Sure. So the University of Delaware does not conduct on-site interviews with prospective students, but we do offer virtual appointments where students can meet with their admissions counselors one-on-one via Zoom to ask any questions to us. We can assist with the application process. But my best advice, if you are preparing for an interview at an institution that does do interviews, or if you're signing up for a one-on-one with us, come with your questions ready because we are a resource for you. But we have very busy schedules throughout the day. So if anything that you can best prepare, so that way we can best help you. That's my advice.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And how often should a student visit the campus? And do you keep track of such things?
When I was first applying for this job, I had someone tell me there are three F's to the college admissions process. It is feel, finance, and fit. And I think that fit is the most important of the three. So while we do keep track of how many times a student visits campus, it has no influence on that student's admissions decision. But so fit is so important because picking a college is kind of like dating, right? You have to be comfortable and fit within the campus environment, but we also have to fit your needs in terms of what you're looking to get out of your education and beyond. And the best way to do that, to really analyze the fit, is to see campus in person. So while we do keep track of it, it's not something that has any sway over an admissions decision.
Great. I appreciate that. And what other advice would you offer prospective students and, of course, their parents who are starting the process now?
Make a spreadsheet. That is my biggest piece of advice that I can offer. Go to make a list of all the colleges that you're applying to, visit their admissions website, and make a master list of what each school requires as part of their application process. One of the biggest things that I heard this application season was that students and their families were unaware of our certain admissions requirements, like the SRA are. But it is, it is right there on our admissions website. It is number 2 on the list of things to submit right under your application. So just make sure that you are familiar with all of your school's different application requirements, and that ensures that your application is complete and correct the first time. If you need any help doing so along the way, reach out to your admissions counselor, or if you're not a Long Islander and you're listening, reach out to your admissions counselor for your territory. And we're always an email away. It is the bulk of what we get paid to do.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate that again. And lastly, why should students apply to the University of Delaware?
It's a loaded question. It's kind of like asking, do you want ice cream or birthday cake? There's really, there's so many good things you can say. So, students should apply to UD first and foremost because of the endless opportunities that we have to offer. So, we are a Tier 1 research institution. That means that we are land grant, sea grant, and space grant. So there are research opportunities for any student in any major as early as their freshman year. UD, we are looking for the next generation of innovators, researchers, to really change the world, and hopefully that starts through the research that you do in your time as a student here at UD. But the beauty of UD is that no 2 students do the exact same thing. So outside of all of the academic paths that you can take, we have a 4-year World Scholars Program, as well as semester-long study abroad for all students in any major, fall, winter, or spring semester. Outside of that, we also have a lot of job opportunities right in our backyard. So 2/3 of all Fortune 500 companies are headquartered in Delaware. So students have increased access to those opportunities, maybe more so than if they had gone to another institution. Lastly, we are continuously improving our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are currently 32% people of color, 13% of our students identify as Jewish. We have multiple gay-straight alliances on campus, so there really is a way for every student to feel involved and that they have a voice here on campus. Part of that is we have over 400 student-run organizations here. So, we have everything available to really set you up for success and ensure that your involvement as a student at UD is personalized specifically to who you are.
Well, it sounds like you offer so much within your classrooms and beyond. Certainly an amazing university to attend. Obviously, I have a lot of students that are there currently and that have graduated from the University of Delaware, and I have never heard anything but accolades and fond memories. It really is a special place, and the campus is beautiful. I've been there myself many times.
The campus is very nice. It might be cloudy today, but we like to say that if you come when it's cloudy and you love it, you'll definitely enjoy it when it's sunny.
That's great advice. Matt, I cannot thank you enough for your insight, your input, the advice that you gave to so many students and their parents. We really appreciate your time. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, John, for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the CAP.